wow, my Wednesday ramblings really became Wednesday slumberings. I've been gone for so long, it's like I've gone into hibernation. Um, it's been a while, but it's always a while. But this time, it's truly been a while. Hi, I'm Anna from Post Me a Book, and I decided it's time to get back onto Wednesday ramblings and do a catch up. Wednesday ramblings are meant to be just that, just really a catch up. So it's not going to be long, but I'll just get into what I have been reading or not. It's actually been not more than have been reading, but I'm so happy to say I finished Empire of Silence. Truly happy to say I finished it. Empire of Silence is the book by Christopher Ruocchio, and I'd been reading it for a while, and I have to say I did enjoy it. Nothing wrong with that, but it took a shorter time than I thought it would take, but it took a longer time than I thought it would take. So when I got to the end, I was happy, full of joy. Now I've returned it to the library with a great many other books that had just been sitting here for a while. So I'm glad about that. I have managed to shift a bit of books that were gathering dust. Um, and I have been actually, even though I felt I hadn't been reading books, I did actually manage to read a few books in between all this silence. And one thing I can say, I did read this poetry book. It wasn't long, so that wasn't a momentous occasion when I finished this book. But at least I wanted to read this book and I wanted to finish it. It's poems by Barbro Lindgren, who is a Swedish author who also wrote children's books. And when I mentioned this book last time, I think the last clip, I said that her poems were, or the ones that I read in the beginning, were portrayed a kind of life of childhood that was fun and loving and on the farm and looking after the animals and taking care of the cows and the pigs and the farm animals. And I was comparing it to a harder life ship, like as in Sally's. What was it, the book that was called Apple Tree and Women, The Women and the Apple Trees, which was written by, I've got a book here, written by Moa Martinson, who is also a Swedish writer. And Moa Martinson's books betray a much harder life than the first few verses I read in this book. So I concluded even before I finished reading this book that this one was going to be happy all through, but it actually was not. It starts off quite happy with happy poems, and it kind of gets darker. And she actually gets right to the end with quite dark, dismal. The other things in life that are not so happy. But I have to say, her last verse was actually a happy one. So I'm really glad about that because I was looking forward to just having a book that was talking about happy childhood. But she's also quite realistic in this book about what it's like on the farm. That sometimes, as a child, you one day you're playing with a pig, and the next day it's gone because it's been eaten, kind of thing. So she's quite realistic about that. But she had good verses. They're very easy to read. She kind of writes them like you're reading a story rather than verses where you have to read between the lines to work out what she's saying. And she portrays, I think Patch was from Värmland, a place in Sweden. And Värmland is a very picturesque place. So when she portrays it in this one, you really do get a feel of the area. And I've been there, and it is actually very, very pretty, especially in summer. It's got lots of water, lots of green trees. So very worth a visit if anyone ever think of coming to Sweden. Värmland is one place to definitely go in the summer. It's probably very pretty in the winter as well. I'm not such a winter person, but yeah, I can imagine it's pretty in the winter when the snow is out. So that was that one. I did read that one also. I actually managed also to read It's About Damn Time by, let's see if I can get you, Arlan Hamilton. Although I'm not gonna, because this is a Wednesday rambling, I'm not really going to go into all these books. I just do a kind of short ramble just to catch up. This was a very good book. I have to say, I started off reading it and then I listened to the audio. And listening to the audio, I had no problems because I watched a lot of videos by Arlan Hamilton, so I knew what she sounded like. And she sounded exactly as she sounds in her videos. So it was very nice listening to her tell a story. And it's a very, in my opinion, it's a very inspirational story from someone who's gone from homeless to where she is now, and then out there trying to help a lot of people realize their potential. So I can absolutely recommend the book. Absolutely with audio as well. So I tended to listen to it on the way to work. That was a good book. I'll go into it a bit more when I actually do a clip about these books. I think I didn't read anything else in between that long spell of while I was in hibernation. The weather's gotten warmer, so I've woken up. We had winter, minus weather, and then it's from -5 to -10, and then back down. But now it's +4. Had a little bit of snow. So yeah, I woke up from my hibernation, come out to Wednesday ramblings. And I have to also say a good thing. I have actually started Windrush. Windrush, I mentioned, it's not very easy to see in this light. Let's see if I do. No, even worse. There. Windrush is a book written by Mike Phillips and Trevor Philips, and it's the irresistible rise of multiracial Britain. This one follows a journey. It's stories of the Caribbean folk who moved to Britain in, let's see, when was this? Throughout the half a century. Okay, I'll have to get back to when this all happened, when I've read the book properly and it's actually stayed in my head with a bit of luck. But yeah, I haven't gotten very far with this book at all. Not even finished the first chapter. But I have to say, it is sounding very interesting. I don't know why I've waited so long to read this book. You get a history of or a bit of a history of the Caribbeans, the Jamaican folk on why and how they moved to the UK. And already in the beginning, I can see how they're talking about their identity was different because they were very connected to the UK because it was a British colony, and it's still. I'm not still sure whether it's part of the Commonwealth. I know a lot of countries have decided not to be part of the Commonwealth, but those days they were part of the Commonwealth. So everybody used to sing "God Save the Gracious King or Queen," and that's what they knew as their song. Sorry, I keep knocking this speaker. And that was their identity. So they always saw the UK as the motherland. And that's very interesting. I mean, I suppose in one sense it's not necessarily surprising, but in another, it's interesting to think that people had lost their own narrative as well. So it takes me back to some of the books that I've read, which is a Steve Biko, where he's trying to, he was always trying to get Black South Africans, to realize who they were or find their old identity, their own identity. But as I said, I haven't gotten very far in this book, but it is looking very promising. So this one, and it's easy to read. I'm looking well forward to reading this one, and I am reading it. It's good because it also means that I'm gonna fix the history. I'm gonna fix history in the book, tick my restructuring. I did a clip on how I was going to restructure my TBRs, and educational history reading is one of them, and geography. I was so bad at geography in school, so these things are also going to help me finally learn what I should have learned a long time ago. Never too old. So that's Windrush. And then, because we're actually in December, and I did say I'd start some of these books that I bought, I have started Miss Smilla's Feeling for Snow by Peter Hoeg. It's called the original Scandinavian thriller. This book was actually written a long time ago, and I think we even had, or we probably still do, we have a version of it. We have another book somewhere in the house, but I just could not find it when I was looking for it. And I really wanted to read this book because I realized I'd never read it. So I did buy it. So this is one book that I am actually going to read, and hopefully, let me not say this too loudly, hopefully finish it in December. It is actually, it doesn't look like a very thick book, but when I was reading it, it has quite small print and quite close print. So I think this book is actually going to take me a little bit longer than I was thinking. It starts off not in a way that I would like a book to start off with, because this book is a thriller. And Miss Smilla, it says, one sunny day in Copenhagen, 6-year-old Isaiah falls to his death from a city rooftop. The police pronounce it an accident, but Isaiah's neighbor, Smilla, suspects murder. So it actually starts off with an introduction that the boy, Isaiah, has fallen off a rooftop, and they find him. One of his neighbors finds him on the ground, and then Miss Smilla comes along and sees that he's also on the ground, and there are police around, and the police are thinking that the boy had probably just fallen off the roof, but she points out, well, okay, why has he been walking there on the roof? There's just footsteps in the snow. Why is he walking along the edge if he's going to just fall off? So that's where it starts. It's been a long time since I read a thriller, but when I had this on my TBR, I had the comment that this is one book that should actually be considered a classic. So I figured I'm going to read this book. So this is a December book, with Windrush. I'm going to read Windrush as well. The two books, as books take me quite a while to read, and it seems my Christmas holiday is not actually as long as I was hoping it's going to be. I'm not so sure I'm going to read more than 2 books. I'd wanted to put in more than 2, but let me stick to these 2 in any case, and then at least I can get back sooner rather than later with a bit of luck. But that is it. That is actually my Wednesday ramblings. So thank you for watching until the end. I think I'll stay out of my hibernation from now. I think I'll keep going. So I will hopefully put out a clip sooner rather than later. But until next time, subscribe and comment. And if anyone has any interesting books, any interesting thrillers, by the way, because thrillers are books that just now I really do not read. I've so fallen out of thrillers. I haven't got a clue what's out there. I used to, once upon a time, I read quite a few Patricia Cornwell, and I actually really enjoyed her books, but I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, it fizzled out. And when it fizzled out, that was it. But I really enjoyed Patricia Cornwell. So if anyone has any good recommendations of thrillers, please write it in the comment. But until next time, thank you for listening. Bye-bye.